Good morning, crafty friends. Happy Saturday. I am Beth Roy, an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And if you're new to watching my videos, please say hi, let us know where you're watching from. We would love to get to know you. If you watch the replay, please let us know that you watched the replay. And let's see. Gosh, I feel like it's been a crazy week here. We've had school or delays every other day, so it's been quite the week with Ohio weather. Good morning, Jenny. So I'm just patiently waiting for my notifications to go out. I know sometimes this might take a minute, so I'm just hoping that everything's going to go smoothly this morning. So I'm just trying to find my video. Good morning, Jenny, and good morning, Vicki. I hope you all are well. Good morning, Jan. I'm still pulling things up on my computer, so I can see a few things on my phone. So if I miss someone, I will go back and see the comments. Okay. Oh, hello. How are all of you? I hope you have had a wonderful week. Oh, yay, Vicki. I am so excited. I am so excited that the kiddos want to watch my video too. So I'm just going to try to straighten my phone a tad because it's all out of whack here. Let's see if I can get myself straight. How well I'm doing. Let me move this. Maybe. Good morning, Dad. Thanks for joining us. So today I want to talk about doing one of my favorite things. It is called a one-sheet wonder. I'm just trying to see. I have to wait for my screen. Okay, I think that's good. I think you can still see. You know it's my video. So I want to talk about doing a one-sheet wonder. And basically what that is, I'm still crooked, aren't I? Gosh. Maybe one of these days. Nope. Oh, and we're joined by my dog too. He feels like he needs to be in here making cards. So, a one-sheet wonder is basically taking a piece of patterned paper, whatever size. So we sell 6x6 and 12x12. So it's taking a piece of patterned paper and chopping it up and making several cards out of that one sheet. So I want to show off some of the papers and how we can do that and incorporate in whatever your favorite sets are. So last night I started playing with this milkshake set. It's called Share a Milkshake, and it is super cute. My son actually was looking at the catalog with me, and he really wanted me to get this set. So, of course, I did. He wanted ice cream for his school Valentine's, which I have all done, and I'm going to share with you so that you can have some ideas on what to use. Now, I actually used a retired set for his Valentine's. But that's what he picked. So, good morning, Linda. I'm so glad you could be here. So, I thought we could use this set today because one of my favorite papers in the new mini is this this set right here. And somewhere I have the somewhere I have the little thing that tells me what's in here. this little insert. So this is called Country Gingham, and it does come as a 6x6 pack. So I thought we would use this. It has Balmy Blue, Mint Macaron, Petal Pink, and Sweet Sorbet. Now, I didn't use Petal Pink. I used Blushing Bride because I like that pink better. But I love this paper and the different patterns. So it has different patterns of the gingham. So some look square, some look diagonal, some are big and little. But I just love this paper pack. And I think it pairs very well with this set. It pairs with lots of things. So I thought we would kind of take a look at that. And I want to use note cards. So the other option when you want to do a one sheet wonder is to take a piece of 12 by 12 or 8.5 by 11 inch cardstock and stamp it yourself and then cut it up for cards. Yeah, Petal Pink is kind of a different pink. So I feel like when I stamp, I don't mind the paper, but it is a different shade of pink, and sometimes the pattern matters. So it's just, it's more like what I would call a peachy pink. It has more orange to it, in my opinion. So I just don't love that color. Not to say I won't use it, and lots of our paper packs do feature that color, but I wish it was Blushing Bride. It isn't. So we'll just have to use something else that looks good with Blushing Bride. So I paired my Blushing Bride with Mint Macaron and Balmy Blue, and I think it looks fine. Now, these milkshakes that I have set up here, as you can see from this one that's falling over, they aren't adhered together. I just laid them out to see how I might like these and the colors. So I thought we could use some of those while we're doing our one sheet wonder. And I have all these little strips left from when I did a bunch of mini slimline cards. So I really need to use those up, and I need to find a way to use those up. Linda, you're fine. You didn't miss the beginning. I'm just basically chit-chatting, talking about what we're going to do today. So I was running a few minutes late too. So we have lots of amazing designer series paper. So if you want to pair things with this gingham, you just have to look for colors and patterns in other paper packs that you might like. So you can mix and match for one sheet wonders too. For instance, and I just have this grabbed out here. It's not one of our colors in the pack, but we have these color family packs like this that also have patterns in them. So you might like, and it also has a plaid. So you might like something that goes with that. And this, I have the Subtles, which does have Balmy Blue, Mint Macaron, and Petal Pink. And I don't think I have the In Colors one, but you can buy the In Colors as well. But what I do have is I have this paper pack that's in the annual, Tea Bouquet, and it has the Sweet Sorbet. So you could find potentially patterns that you like that will go with these. You can mix and match if you want. See, this one even has Petal Pink in it too. But you might, because it has some really fun stripes like this that you could use depending on the color scheme you want to use with your cute little milkshakes. So I thought I would show you some quick cards with this Country Gingham because I just think it's so cute. You can pair it with anything. I think it can go with flowers, all kinds of things. And the other one that I wanted to point out is this is Dandy Designs, this huge paper pack. Oh, sorry. I'm a train wreck this morning. This huge paper pack is in the level 2 of Celebration, and it's huge. It is a 12 by 12 paper pack with 48 sheets of paper. And it has a lot of colors in it. It has the Balmy Blue, and it does have Petal Pink again. So depending on what your colors you want to use. If you wanted to use, this has Mango Melody. A lot of our packs have Mango Melody, but I love this little dot pattern. Now these are not two colors I would put together. This is Mango Melody, and it kind of has the image of Petal Pink, but I think it's just like a Mango Melody, like a stamped off. And this also has Fresh Freesia in it. So I would never think to pair those two colors together. So I want to talk about not only the One Sheet Wonder, but you're picking a color scheme. So if there are patterned papers that you like, take a cue from your patterned papers to pick your color schemes. Now, at the beginning, toward the beginning of this week, I posted an artist that I follow. I posted one of her videos about color harmonies and how you choose colors that look good together. I also think about the subject of my stamp. So if it's flowers or people or scenery, how those colors would play out and what my dominant color is going to be. So I wanted to show you, this is an easy way to kind of pick a color scheme, is by choosing patterns you love. So this also has a plaid in it, and this is Fresh Freesia. So if you were stamping with that, you could use this one. So I wanted to point these out to you because I didn't want you to miss them. Sometimes when we get new products, it can be a tad bit overwhelming. So here's, you guys know I love polka dots. Here's one that would be really cute, I think, with this set. So today, and you could probably mix and match. There's probably something in here. I don't know exactly what we would mix and match with the country gingham, but there's a green and blue and Fresh Freesia polka dot one as well. So just kind of stretch yourself. Oops, sorry, I just dumped all my paper. Challenge yourself to look at what you have on your shelf and what you can kind of mix and match. So who's ready to play? Who's here and ready to play? Good morning, Joan. How are you? So glad you could join us. We are talking about One Sheet Wonders. Now, I have to say, I love this soft paper pack. I just feel like it's so soft. Even the Sweet Sorbet, I think, is so cute. And these would be great for Valentine's as well. So if you, and this is kind of a well, it's not kind of, it is. It says Be My Valentine. But I think if you say, and look, I'm totally messing up on my samples here. That's okay. It has Celebrate. So you could grab out your favorite birthday stamp and stamp the inside as a birthday card. That's what I was thinking. Even a hello. Hey, I'm thinking of you. Life is sweeter with you. Life is sweeter with you. Cute saying. So, I was trying to decide because I also love these paper packs. I love these. And then we have the C one. This is Regency Park, I believe it's called. Yes, and the first one, still learning the names, is Fancy Flora. And this is that C, I'll tell you the right name here. I love this paper pack. So there's lots of new paper that's so pretty. And of course I don't, somewhere it's C, by the sea. Let me just look at my catalog and I'll tell you. Because I don't want to tell you the wrong name and I can't find my little paper. By the Bay is the paper pack. And I love this. So you could die cut. You could use the die. So this stamp set does have a die set. You could use this die and cut out your ice cream or milkshake topping, whipped cream, whatever that stamp's supposed to be. I kind of assumed it was ice cream. You could use these really fun, some of these. Now, some of them, obviously not, but they have some fun patterns in here. Even this, if you don't want to do a C one, there's a dark one too. This reminds me of a night on the beach. But I also love this wood grain. So if you wanted to do this with your ice cream or your milkshakes, could be cute too. So if you got in my paper share, you have a lot of these papers. And maybe seaside cards aren't your thing, but there are patterns in here that you could use if you do like the milkshake set, and you could die cut these out, especially this one, to be your milkshake topping, or even the glass. You could stamp the outline stamp like this. There's 2 stamps here at layers, and die cut it. I love this one. I love this pattern paper. These 2 are probably my favorite out of the pack. So just giving you some ideas for your paper. Okay, so are y'all ready to make some note cards? So do you want to use these really, really cute little milkshakes that I already have done? And we'll just pair them with the ginghams that they look best with. And I'm actually going to adhere them to these white panels, but I'm going to cut them down. I just had a bunch of these laying on my desk. I have a ton of scraps laying on my desk, and I need to use these up. So I laid them out before gluing them just to see what I would like. And I'll tell you what colors I used and how I did each one. I just think it's cute. This one I did 2 straws because I thought it could become a Be My Valentine card. And, you know, you're sharing your milkshake with, you know, your favorite person. So I do have a pack of open note cards. I love these. If you're a beginner, and you feel a little overwhelmed at choosing products, number 1, please message me, because I can always help you pare down what you may have already purchased, what you may need, that's absolutely necessary without being overwhelmed. Of course, us collectors, we want all the new things. We want all the product. But that's okay if you don't. We can work with what you have. But this is one of the products that I absolutely recommend. They are note card size, which is mailable here in the US. It comes with 20, and this is basic white. It's thick basic white. It's pre-scored, and it has envelopes with it. And you can cut your paper, you can mix and match, you can make layered cards easily with these as your base. I love the card sets. You can also buy the Memories and More cards. Those are a great starting point. So I'm just gonna grab out some, and I'm gonna grab envelopes too, because maybe we wanna make those pretty too. Let's make, you guys up for 5 cards? You guys up for it? We'll see how quick we can do it. So we need note cards. I grabbed out 5. We will stamp some sayings, and I do have lots of scraps. Okay. And then we just have to pick out some paper that we want to go with it. Now you'll notice I have a really bright one down here. Somebody suggested Melamambo for a color, and I loved it. And so I tested that out and I paired it with Balmy Blue. I was gonna ask that, Jenny, but thank you, Joan. So hold on a second. Linda asked a question. Just a minute, Linda. Let me scroll back up. So what do I use when I give note cards as a gift? Do you mean a set of note cards? just to clarify. Well, we used to have the mini paper pumpkin boxes, which I still have some of those left in my stash. You can use I have used the resealable plastic bags, which I get on Amazon. Stampin' Up! Does have some of those bags as well. Let me grab a couple things here and see what I have so I can show you. No. I have a lot of things I use for gifts. Oh, of course, I can't find my bags. Let me find my catalog. Okay, so one of the things I like to use, and you have seen these, are these little embossed treat bags. So you can put your set of note cards in this bag and decorate it up. You know, that's one of my favorite things is I make a lot of cards sets that I do as gifts. And if you're doing a one-sheet wonder, that may be your goal. It may be your goal to just make your own stash of cards. And it's nice to use up our supplies. So when we do a one-sheet wonder, we're thinking of a set of cards, but really it can be for your stash too. I do like to make them as gifts. I'm looking quickly here. Now, if you choose a color scheme that you're using the craft note cards, we talked about this last weekend, the craft note cards come with a box. So they're just like the basic white and very vanilla, but this comes with its own box. I wish the white ones and the other ones did too. So let me see if I can find quickly. Why can I never find what I'm looking for? Wrap It Up is the title of this catalog page, 140. So here's the embossed treat bags. We also have a delicate details treat box. I have not used these or bought them, so I don't know. And then we have a 6x8 cellophane bags. You can take these cellophane bags and dress them up. I do have them somewhere in my room, but they're not handy. I'm not sure. I use them sometimes when I'm packaging cards. I also buy other items off of Amazon that I use, or I make my own box. I make my own box. Now, these craft boxes say they're 4.5 inches by 6 5/8 inches, and they have a window. I don't know how many would fit in that, but you certainly could. It's only 3/4 of an inch wide, so probably not very many. But my easiest way is to bag them up, tape the bag closed, put a cute little belly band around it, and make a cute gift. But I also do love these white bags. And I have decorated these and shown them off. I don't know if I have any with a set of cards in them, but that is what I've used. I love these. They're very thick. They have a texture to them. They can hold regular sized cards too. So this is the box. And they can hold regular sized cards too. And then I just use a ribbon to tie around this. So those are some ideas if you're thinking of gifts. Oh, that's a good idea, Joan. Yeah, any bag. So if you have bags that you already have in your craft room, or maybe you saw something cute, treat bags, I've used those little clear treat bags. They're just really long, so that's why I started kind of looking for other alternatives. Sometimes when I'm giving my church large donations of cards, I have bigger bags that I use for my classes that I stuff the cards in. And then those are resealable. They're just called resealable clear bags. And you can get those off of Amazon. Yes, thank you. I love it. We are a tribe in here, and I love all the ideas and helping people think of these things. So thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I missed that page too. Sometimes when I get back into the accessories part of the catalog, I tend to start skipping over it because I either own it already or maybe I don't need it. So yeah, no worries. We're here to give ideas and make life easier. That's what we're doing, right? So thanks. All right, so let's use all these cute little milkshakes. I actually made 2 ice creams too. I'm not sure how we're going to put them on there, but I also stamped, of course I stamped a ton. Who doesn't do this? I'm going to move my camera just a tad. I feel like I don't know if I've hit it. I don't know what I've done here. Okay, so I want to talk about this. So these, I don't know if you can even really see them, but they're not cut from, they are smoky slate stamped off 3 times. Let me pull it up a little bit. I wanted the texture, but I really wanted white. Oh, that one's upside down, so you can't even see that one. So you could just die cut this from white if you wanted some white foam. I think it's supposed to be whipped cream or icing. But I wanted a little bit of texture on there. And I'm going to show you a technique. I'm going to share a technique since we're going to use I keep calling this ice cream. Milkshakes. So these are stamped off. I used first generation where you just ink and stamp, and I used stamping off as well. So you'll notice on this ice cream here, it shows up really well on this one. You'll notice it has some texture to it and variation. I'm going to show you this technique. You can use it with lots of things. I may do it a little bit more when I just find some other things I want to pair together, but I'm going to show you this technique. And I'm not going to stamp a ton of things. We're going to use up the stuff I stamped. And of course I have an extra straw. And this set, it's just so cute. It's so cute. So let's start talking about how we cut our paper for a one sheet wonder, because that's why we're here today, right? I'm going to try to very carefully, we'll put them back together, stack these. And remember, I'm going to cut these down. But let's start cutting our paper. And then I'm also going to show you here in just a bit that little technique I want you to know because it's really fun. It's called the kissing technique. How many of you have heard of the kissing technique? Okay, so for a one sheet wonder, you need a trimmer. Okay, if you're starting to craft on your own at home, you have to have a trimmer. I like my Stampin' Up! Trimmer because it has a blade and it has a scoring blade. So this is called a blade too, but it's not cutting, it's scoring. Let's see here. I'm going to pull up some Balmy Blue paper because most of the colors in here have Balmy Blue or the Mint Macaron. So I did use the Sweet Sorbet on the cherry. So let me see. I just need one of each pattern. So bear with me as I go through this. Jenny's heard of it but can't remember what it is. So and this gingham paper really plays tricks on my eyes because there's so many different, there's 4 different patterns, but it just really makes you question if you missed them. And I know I missed some, but it's just not, I'm just keep missing it. Okay. Let me sort these out here. Having issues. So I've got those 2. I've got those. So basically I'm just pulling out the Balmy Blue and the Mint Macaron, because I think those two, excuse me, no, that's the same one, pretty much match. Okay. Why is this becoming so difficult? I don't think I'm missing any of my paper, but you know, we are talking about me here. What's weird is I'm pretty sure I know which one I'm missing. I should have one. Nope. Okay, maybe not. Am I losing my mind, everyone? Do we only have 3 patterns? Okay, maybe I am. Maybe. I don't know. We'll just go with it. So we have these patterns for each color. I thought we had 4 different ones. Maybe not. I could totally be losing my mind. And I want to pair them with our ice creams. So which pattern do you think works best with this? So let's just use this as an example because it uses both of the colors. So do you think the whiter gingham would look better? So when we make our card, I guess I should talk about layouts, but I wanted to kind of show you how I'm going to cut the paper. So when I make a layout, we're going to cut this in half. We're going to use 3 inches. You can either use square, so they're 3 by 3, or I like to use 5 inches by 3. Or no, I'm sorry, we're using note cards. That's what the size I use on, back up for a second. I'm using note cards. That's the size I use when I do a regular card. So for the note cards, I'm going to use 2 inches. That means we're going to get 3 cards at least out of each 6 by 6 paper. Yeah, I have to remember to adjust my size a little bit when I'm doing note cards, because a folded note card, when you fold it, and it is scored, but I'm going to score it a little deeper. The machine didn't score it as deep as I like to get a nice crisp fold, so I'm going to score it again. But this is 3.5 inches by 5 when you fold it. So I like to use a 2 inch, and you can use by 4.5 to make it easy so that you have some left over. You could decorate a panel for the inside as well. So you can use those leftover strips as well. Or you can just glue it to the panel. This is thick cardstock instead of the regular cardstock, which is a little bit thinner. So you can use either one. And we're going to cut these down to fit onto, as a panel, onto the front of our card. So keeping that in mind, because we want it to go with a lot of it. So this one I would use the Balmy Blue with these two. Which pattern do you think works best? This one to me looks like a tablecloth. These two right here. Then we have a really tight pattern, a tight gingham, and then we have this one that's a little bit larger. So that's one of the things I think about. Sometimes I just pick a paper I love and then I design around it. Sometimes I pick the stamping I love and then I design around that. So there's 2 different ways to do it. It's not wrong. It's just whichever way you feel more comfortable. And I do it both ways. And sometimes I just pick a color scheme and then I start brainstorming what papers I have in that color, what patterns they come in, and what stamps I want to use with a color scheme. So there's lots of different ways you can get your creative juices going and how you can start your planning. I know, Jennifer, I never call you Jennifer. Jenny, I like them all too, but this does remind me of a tablecloth. So, but I'm really drawn to the biggest one because I feel like it's a little less busy. And I want that focus on my cute milkshakes. So that's my thoughts. So don't be afraid to throw yours in there. Throw them in there. Let me know. What do you think? Yeah, that's the bigger one. So yeah. So we can just start with those. If we need more, we'll grab out these. But this reminds me of, I don't know, like a picnic tablecloth. And you could use the sweet sorbet. If that is the look that you like, go for it. Don't be afraid. If you're copying me, maybe you're crafting along with me today and you have this paper and you want to craft along, feel free to change it up. Feel free to change it up or copy me. Go ahead and copy me. You have my express permission to do so. Yes, Vicki, I am going to keep it on the white. It's going to be trimmed down. These were scraps I had. I'm not going to lie. Look at this, you guys. This is just a little handful. I did all of these slimline cards, and I have all of these left over from cutting my 3x6 panels. So I have to use them up. I have to use them up. So I had to think of a way to use those. So they are going to be on the panel, but we're going to trim them down once we design our card. If I had the regular sized card of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 when it's folded, then I may want my white piece a little bit longer. But since we're doing note cards, I might want to make it a little shorter, and it's okay if your milkshake is hanging off a little bit. So that's okay. I'm also going to show you how I embellish some of these things. And so let's get started cutting. So yes, you're right, Joan. And that's what it makes me think of. A picnic, a diner, you know, those cute little ice cream shops. Sometimes they do have tablecloths. So I just love this gingham. And you could do this color scheme, right? See, there's the sweet sorbet. I love this. And I did, on some of them, I did use a little cherry. So if you wanted to mix and match and flip it over when you get to the one with the cherry or the ice cream card, I think it goes as well. Ooh, yes, Vicki. These would be so cute for bookmarks too. There's so many ideas. I love this set. And I'm so glad my son talked me into getting it. This was not on the top of my list. So now you know. Okay, so the paper is 6 by 6. If it is a certain pattern and you want it to go a certain direction, say this is stripes, then you want to think about how it's going on your card when you cut it. You also want to think about how high you want it, so that if you want like that 1.5 inches, so if we do 4 1/2, because these are 5 inches high, this direction's 5 inches, you want to go ahead and cut that strip so that you can save that strip for another card. Actually, you can get a whole nother note card out of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go over here to 4 1/2. So if I was worried about the direction of my pattern, you would want to make sure that you understand when you're cutting this side, if it's stripes, it's going to dictate whether it's horizontal or vertical. So just something to think about if you chose a different paper. Lots of tips. I want you guys to have lots of success creating your cards. So we have this little strip. Now this isn't a 2-inch strip. It's only, what, 1 1/2? Because our paper was 6 inches, but you could still use it on one of your cards. You can still use it. The idea of a one-sheet wonder is to use all the pieces. So we're going to see how far we get with these pieces. So now I have the height I want, and I like to do 2 inches. You can also cut this so let me show you. I'm getting ahead of myself, I know. But I'm sorry I'm jumping around. Hopefully I'm not confusing you. I like to think of layouts. I do have templates that I typically lay over my cards. You can make templates out of like a clear acetate, which we sell as window sheets. They're a little more expensive, or you can use vellum. Oh yeah, that heart set, Linda. I'll tell you the name. I don't have that set. I don't buy a lot of Valentine sets unless they really, really appeal to me. That is called the Country Bouquet. So it has a lot of that. It's beautiful. The floral images are beautiful, but I don't do a lot of cards with hearts, and I have some retired things, so this wasn't on my list. But if you don't have a good Valentine's set, this definitely has, I love the font, and it does have some really beautiful images. And let's see. I think in the suite, it's also paired with that Love for You. So, or no, it isn't. But I think a lot of people have paired this stamp set with this other one. So that's a good choice too. So anyway, back to my template. So typically I have a template in mind for my whole sheet. And I'm going to show you that with the blue one when I cut it. But I want to talk about this. So I have my card here. And because I've been crafting, I already know what I want this to look like. I love coming off to the left-hand side, and then I make a little panel that you can pop up the whole panel, or you can pop up just your milkshake, and I may trim this so it's a lot smaller. As I'm designing, those are things I decide. This would layer here. I love this simple layout. It is one of my most used layouts. So I'm using that in mind when I cut my 2-inch strips, because I want them to be long and just cover a little bit of my front. You can also, if you're cutting it into 3 inches and you're just cutting it in half, you can have a 3-inch square. So if you're layering squares, and we'll do that with this. I'll cut some that are 3 inches, and we'll do the blue a little bit different, so you can see how to use up the paper. Because the idea behind the One Sheet Wonder is to use up all the paper as best as you can with a little, just if at all possible, none to throw away. But even if you have a little tiny bit, then you're only throwing away your smallest scraps. So that's the idea. Does anyone have questions? Because I know I jumped around on that. Normally I show you a template and we just cut the paper, but I wanted to show you kind of, or well, maybe my thought process is very chaotic, but I wanted to show you the thought process of why I pick a certain pattern and why I might pick a certain template. So if you have questions ever at any time, just stop me and say, Beth, you're not making sense, or can you clarify that, or what do you mean? Because I totally understand that my mind jumps around. This is actually how I craft. I'm a chaotic, messy crafter. That's what I would call me. So this is my layout that I had in my mind that I forgot to kind of share with you in the beginning. This is what I thought all along when I saw this set. So sometimes things just pop into my head about how I want to do something. So I would actually cut this piece. Once I cut it to the 4.5 height that I want, I would go ahead and cut my 2-inch strips. And that gives me 3 of these for card fronts. And then of course I can cut this strip down to either fit on the inside, or I could just make a skinnier layout using the same thing, but instead of 2 inches, this is 1.5 inches. And then it would just give you a little bit to throw away, or you could even use that too. You could find a pattern or a way to incorporate that little piece. So that's my idea. Now the other way I do it, and you can do it, is I cut it at 3 inches. Okay, so you get 2 equal things. And I would cut my strip off at 5 and leave, that way I can use that strip somewhere else. Maybe you want it to go behind the greeting. You can pop it all kinds of places. So I typically cut my 6x6 in half. Then I change the height. So I might want a 5-inch piece, I might want it to be 4 inches, or I might want it to be square. So let's just cut a square for the sake of you seeing other ways, right? So we can have a square, and I can cut this as a square, and I can make that a different layout, because I do want to use blue with those because my cup is blue, and I don't have any other patterned paper in the colors that I have. Now here's where you could use that sweet sorbet if you wanted to. And I have plenty of pieces over here. I could chop up all my paper into certain layouts. So if you wanted to do this, let's say for the sake of this note card, we're going to do this at 4 inches. Okay, so I've got 4 pieces here, and we're going to see how we want to mix and match and play. And I'm not sure what I want to do with that piece yet, so I'm not going to cut it again just yet. Oh, I want to score my cards. And I will cut these as we mix and match and line them up. So I'm just going to lay this down at 3.5, and I'm going to get my cutting blade out of the way. And I like a really deep score line, so I'm going to do it 3 or 4 times so I get that real nice deep score line. That helps me fold my card. I'm just going to do all of them while I'm here. Then we're going to mix and match. If I need to grab my trimmer out and do something different, somehow I did not. Let's try this again. I did not push hard enough on the one end. So we'll see how quick I can do this. So how many of you actually do one sheet wonders? Maybe you stamp your own, or maybe you just use your pattern paper, and it's a great way to use up the paper you have. You know, sometimes we get into a rut where we just cut our paper the same, and there's lots of patterns you can find on Pinterest. I have lots of patterns that I've made with my 8.5 by 11 vellum. I just write on it with a Sharpie, and I write the measurements, and then I can lay it over top of my paper and kind of see how I like it. So you can do that too. I think I have 6x6 examples. I forgot to look in my, I have a folder with all my templates and different ideas in there. So I've got my note cards. Now I will bring this back in. So let's see, let's just go ahead and do this one. Do you like the green? And I'm going to grab some glue. Now I do have an extra blue one. You could stack them like this and then use a dimensional and kind of make this one stick out a little further. So you can use 2. I tried to vary it up a little bit. So let's see. I think I'm going to leave it the same width, but I'm going to adhere this down so I can decide how tall I want it. What do you guys think? Do you like the mint macaron with this cup, or do you think you would like the blue better? Now the blue changes because we cut the balmy blues. It changes our layout just a tad. I think I got that straight. Okay, so I just adhered that on, and I am going to do that. I'm going to add this one. Now, when you die cut these, if you use the die cut, it cuts a little slit for the spoon or the straw. So just know that when you're layering, there is going to be a line that appears there. I don't think it's that noticeable. And I'm going to use a dimensional for, well, actually, I'm going to use a dimensional on this one. So I'm going to glue this one flat too. So I've tucked my straw in already, and I'm just putting liquid glue on the back. You could cut a dimensional strip if you want this straw to stick up. You can trim your dimensionals. when you layer these pieces, this this does have a little dimension to it, but that's okay. So now I think I'm going to cut this right at that straw. So grab my trimmer and we'll see. We'll see how tall that is. You can decide ahead of time how tall you want that. Here's 4 inches. So let's try it at 4 and see how we like it. So save that scrap. You can use it to stamp something and die cut. Don't toss it. It's a usable scrap. You might want to stamp your greeting on it and cut around it. So here's how this would look. So remember, this pattern paper was 4 inches. Now I know this is white on white. If you don't like white on white, you could use something like this so that it covers the page. You're just going to get less cards out of one sheet. You could also leave it taller and not have a big scrap like this. So there's lots of options. I am going to use those squares with the other ice cream, so I'm going to leave those. So I do like this. Now I'm going to pop this on dimensionals. And then I got these really cute, where did they go? Now, this isn't in our color scheme, is it? These are purples and pinks and white. So if I want something to match these to throw on here, I can color these white adhesive back gems with my Stampin' Blends markers. And we do have Balmy Blue and Mint Macarons Stampin' Blends. So if we want to add some embellishments, we can do that. I also will probably add in a strip. We can make this a birthday card. I think I'm going to stamp it Celebrate. So we could stamp all of these Celebrate and make a set of birthday cards. That's kind of what I was thinking. So let's have a little vote. All the outsides are going to say Celebrate. And then I think one of them I'm going to do Be My Valentine. The one I did with 2 straws. What do you think? Let me know. Quick thoughts. Because you want to think of your... Let's just use this piece. So let's see if Celebrate fits on there. If you're thinking about how you want your card, this is again, my typical layout. I would stamp this, and I know it's upside down, but it gives you an idea. I would stamp this and trim it and make a little strip right there that gets attached to this, and it has a dimensional on the part that hangs over, and it's just a layered greeting. So I was thinking a set of birthday cards. That was my thought. So let's stamp this real quick. Let's decide. Do you want it stamped in Balmy Blue, Mint Macaron, or you could do Smoky Slate. You could do a just a neutral color. I need a block here. What do you think? Now these are photopolymers, so you do need your foam mat. And I have one buried here somewhere. Somewhere. If you don't have these foam mats, they're called a Stampin' Pierce mat. You can use your mat from your Stamparatus, but you want to have some foam under this. There's no give in these clear stamps, so you want to have that to get a nice image. Okay, I see a Balmy Blue. I see 2 Smoky Slates. Anyone else have a preference? So here's the colors, and I do like to throw in a neutral. You can also do kind of like a monochromatic with 2 colors. That's not really monochromatic, but you get the idea. You could just use the colors in your card. I'm also grabbing my blends because, you know, we want to pretty up this card. Ooh, another vote for Balmy Blue. So nobody wants mint macaron, which is okay. You know why? We have 2 things that are mint macaron, or 3 actually, the straw, our cup, and our patterned paper. So I probably wouldn't pick the mint macaron either because that would become very dominant. So sometimes I like to balance it out, but bringing in a 3rd color is okay too. Even if you haven't used it anywhere else on your card, that's okay. Oh, actually, I am going to use it on my card. Does anyone know what I'm going to do? I'm going to grab my light smoky slate and my color lifter. Anybody have any ideas? Hello, Xana. How are you? Glad you could join us. We're into the card making. Anybody know what I'm going to do on this sheet? Let me show you. Let me grab a scrap piece here so I can put it on here. I'm going to take this piece right here, and it's okay if your milkshake's floating. That's all right. It's not going to hurt anything, but I want to add right where I stuck this, and I probably would have done it before I stuck it down. I'm going to add a little shadow down there. It's not a big shadow. You could do a big shadow if you want. And then I'm going to take my color lifter. So that was light smoky slate. And I'm just going to kind of blend that out. I don't want it to be super dark, but I want something there. I'm going to ground my milkshake here. Ground my milkshake a little bit. So what do you think? There's our card layout. We're going to stamp this. We're tied. Anybody else have a thought? My personal choice would have been the smoky slate. Thank you, Xana. We're having fun. We're doing a little one sheet wonder with the new, I'm never going to get this name right, Country Gingham. I love this paper. So cute. So, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call Sweet Sorbet a soft color, but they just feel very soft. So, how about we stamp it both ways and we test it out? Who's game for that? It's okay to do that too. So I'm going to stamp one in Balmy Blue right here. See if I can stamp straight. Clean my stamp here. Oh, I knew I had my chamois somewhere. Xana, isn't it cute? I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so that was Balmy Blue. Now we're going to do Smoky Slate. My Smoky Slate's kind of dark because I re-inked it, so we'll see. There we go. And I like that this word, I mean, yes, it's straight, but the letters are not straight. It's almost like somebody hand wrote it. So if I don't get it exactly perfectly straight, it's okay. It's all right. Okay, so move a few things around because I got too many things in front of me. So here we go. I'm gonna use my trimmer to cut it though. I don't trust myself this morning. I just don't trust me. But you could, if you're quick and you cut straight. I'm just gonna toss this in there. So there's one, and I might trim the ends a little bit. Oh, I want that a little. So we still have one left. See if I'm successful without cutting off any of the words. So there's my two readings. Let's start putting our card together. Oh, yeah. There are so many cute things right now. It's hard. I prioritize my list. So I always share that with everyone. When we get a new catalog, we feel like we have to buy everything we want right away. And you don't have to. Now, it is celebration in January and through February. So if you want to earn some of those free exclusive items, then you might want to think about placing a little bit bigger order. But don't feel overwhelmed. Don't feel like you have to have it all. It's okay. If you want to have it all, though, sign up to be a demonstrator because you got to get a discount. You just gotta. Okay, so we have this one planned. And we don't know which way we want it. So look, I am going to trim that a little bit. But I would let it hang off. So there's the blue. Just so you can be thinking about it. Because we've got 4 more cards to make. So I got to get a move on. This can be a quick process. Maybe if you're not me. No, it can be if you are pre-planning. But today we're learning. So learning takes a little bit longer because we got to talk about all the bits. So I don't want to cover the bottom of my glass. I'm just kind of going a little ways up into my milkshake glass. So you can kind of see how that gray works. So I think both colors are great. I might trim that a little bit. So anyways, there's our first one. Okay, let's move on. Card number 2. Who's ready? I'm gonna do these last because I got to do a little bit more cutting. Let's do this one. And this one we're gonna do as a Valentine. So I'm gonna scoot that one over. So we're gonna do these 2 next. What do you think? Okay, so on this one, obviously I want to use this again, because this has Blushing Bride and Mint Macaron. It does have Sweet Sorbet. So if you wanted to flip this, if you don't like this pattern, you could pick the Sweet Sorbet in this pattern. You could flip this. So tell me your thoughts on that, because you've cut your paper up. You can use whatever side you want, right? As long as it's doesn't have a certain direction. Even if it did, if I cut my stripes wrong, I still use them. That's just what I do. I don't fret over it. So this one, we know that we cut this at 4 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one to 4 inches. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this one to 4 inches. And it's okay if it goes off the page a little bit, right? It's okay if it doesn't fit exact. So I'm going to just put these 2 together and cut them at 4 inches. So I don't even know how wide these are. We're going to save these because we can cut our greetings. So let me tell you how wide these are. I think they're supposed to be 2 inches, but it seems like they're a little bigger than 2 inches. So that just gives you an idea. Okay, so let's, so I'm going to put, oops. I'm going to put this one back over here. And we got this, and it has a cherry on top. So what do you think? Xana, I'm sending good vibes your way. I hope you get back to producing, and that way you can get some of your wants. I feel like I've been way off. I started a new job. Where I work during the day. I love my job, but just my craft time and squeezing in how I want to do things is taking a little more time than I thought. So if you've been like, Beth, you've been really quiet, I apologize. I have lots of ideas, and sometimes I just don't have the energy to get all the things done I would love to do. So yes, Linda, if you're doing these as a set that you want to give somebody, you may want to add in other colors. So sometimes I pick a color scheme and I make all my cards in those 3 or 4 colors that I chose. But these, because I still use Sweet Sorbet, this color will fit into your theme. So It's okay. I think all these colors go really well together. Now, if I had a bunch of orange in here and different things, I might not pair it together. But, you know, my sister, she's not on this morning, but my sister loves to buy sets of cards from me, and they don't always match a color scheme. They might just be all birthday or all thinking of you. So you don't have to feel like your sets are matchy-matchy. If you're using them as a one-sheet wonder, they're going to match pretty close, right? Because you've used a color scheme, because your paper has a color scheme. So just things to think about. But so what do you guys think? Joan votes for Sweet Sorbet. And I think Linda did too. Yeah, I love the Sweet Sorbet with this. So the ones that I have a cherry on, the Sweet Sorbet may go a little bit better. Oh, Xana. Well, I hope that joining us online helps a little bit. I know it's tough not having people to meet with. I know I have two of my bestest crafty friends here, and we still have a hard time meeting. So, and we're close by. We were doing it regularly, but now that I'm working during the day, that's a little bit harder. So let's go with the Sweet Sorbet, and we'll adhere this down. You notice I already tucked this in, and I'm not sure exactly where I want this cherry to go. It doesn't have to be exactly centered, or it can go up here. I don't know which way I like it, but I'm going to start adhering this down. I'm going to add a little bit of smoky slate down here. What did I, oh, there it is. I'm going to add a little smoky slate down there. Now, you could stamp all of your Celebrate in your smoky slate. If you just want your greeting in a neutral. What are you doing? No. Come here. Hold on, I have to have a meeting with Joe. Pause that thought. You can play your game, just turn it down. Okay. So if you want to stamp your greeting all in the neutral color, you can do that. That's okay. So don't feel like you have to have your greeting in the matching color to pop off on every single one. You can just use smoky slate. So I'm going to color on the bottom of this with my smoky slate blend just to ground it. If you don't have blends, you could maybe just sponge on or use a blending brush and just add a little color. You don't have to. If you like it just white without the gray on the bottom, don't feel like you have to do that. That is just something that I feel like I have to do. Jenny, I'm ignoring that comment. I really didn't. It was a tough decision, but at the same time, I feel like it's something I personally needed, and I'm loving it. I just miss my friends. I just miss my friends. I love you all. I do. So I'm just going to add some gray in here. I don't know if it's going to be exactly. Now, I don't want it that dark, obviously, so I'm going to take my color lifter, and I'm just going to push some of it through the paper and soften the edge. I wish we had a very, very light gray, but we don't. So this is how you achieve that look. And my shadow might not be perfect. So let's grab my little cup here. So this gives you the idea of just how to do your shadow. I did this one after the fact, but if you want to do it before, you can do it before. I'm gonna work this bottom a little more down here. Now, as you're saturating this, it's going to do what I call develop or continue to do its magic. So let it sit for a second. See, I pushed a lot of that gray through because I just wanted a light gray. And you could use, now that we have these cute, adorable little tiny blending brushes, you could have taken your smoky slate, and maybe I'll do that on the next one just so you can see something different. You can use this with your smoky slate and just blend on there. Love it. Love it. I have one I have not used yet. So we'll use that with smoky slate. So I'm going to let that dry for a second. Let me grab all my little pieces down here. Now, you notice I haven't adhered this yet. I like to just stack my set. So this is going to go this way. I'm going to stack it right over here, and I'm going to work just on my layer. And I'm going to just kind of roughly stick these pieces together. I love, this is Blushing Bride with Mint Macaron and Sweet Sorbet. So if you don't have Sweet Sorbet, you can use Real Red or Poppy Parade. Sweet Sorbet is just right in between Poppy Parade and Real Red. It's just a little more red than Poppy Parade. Aw, Xana, I'm so sorry. Everybody, make sure you lift Xana up, whether you do praying, good vibes, whatever, and just hope she feels better soon. I hate when, I know how I feel. I have felt not good this week. Migraines tend to take over sometimes, and I hated it because I had a day off, and I tried so hard to play a little bit and do things, and I just didn't have the energy. It just sucked the life out of me. And I was so mad at myself because I don't have things done that I want done. But, you know, life happens, and we all have those moments. So I hope that we can all, as a tribe, think of our friends, whether they're near or far, or as they say, across the pond for Xana. I hate when I feel like my crafting tribe is not doing well. I hate that. So here's my layer. I haven't adhered it yet, but you can kind of see, you can adjust your straw, and you know what? This can hang off if you want it to. Maybe you want it really wonky and hanging out there. That's okay. So now we got to think, we're going to stamp this one Celebrate as well. So let me grab in this piece that we had left over, right? And geez, what did I do with my foam mat? What is wrong with me this morning? So I'm going to stamp this. Now, what do you think for this one? So I would probably just, like I said, my idea is I would just stamp them all the smoky slate. So let me lift this up. Here's that smoky slate, right? And remember, we did this one Balmy Blue or Smoky Slate. We haven't quite decided totally just yet. So this one, it could be Blushing Bride, it could be Sweet Sorbet, it could be Mint Macaron, or you can choose the Smoky Slate. I almost said Basic Gray. I meant Smoky Slate if I said that. Aw, thank you. You guys are so sweet. That's why I love you all. I am so happy. You know, it's funny that we've all met online and we've became friends, and I truly care about you guys and how you're doing. Sometimes if I haven't heard from you, I tend to reach out. So I feel like we're really connected, even though we're so spread out and so far away. No, it's okay, Xana. We're here. We're your tribe. We're here for you. So what do you guys think on your colors? So I am going to stamp another Basic Gray, and we might want to use these elsewhere, especially like this Melon Mambo one coming up. We might want that to tone down our colors just a tad. I love that, Jenny. Crafting Soul Sisters. Wouldn't that be a great name for my team? My team needs a name. I haven't officially named my team. That's it. Don't steal it, anybody. Aw, thanks. Thank you, Vicki. I appreciate that. I do. I'm just cleaning my stamp here. And I am going to trim this. So you could use it here, or I'm thinking on this one. And one of the reasons, oh, good idea, Vicki. One of the reasons is this Melon Mambo is so bright. I love it. I love the pop, but sometimes I need something to ground it. So those are the things that I think about. This is a creative process. So let's adhere this down, and I'm gonna go ahead and adhere this, and I want you guys to think about it. Where do I put an open ink pad? You don't leave it open, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about. That is like a recipe for a disaster. And it would happen to me. So I'm gonna start adhering this down. And most of these, I'm thinking, here's my thought process. You can do yours different if you want. I'm going to pop up that white panel. I want a little separation off of my white card. And then I'm going to show you how I tie in. I put those embellishments on so that I'm not paying extra for my postage because I put a cute little adhesive embellishment on there. Okay. Can you guys see what I'm doing? Scoot this down a little bit. Okay. And I'm leaving my straw wonky. I'm going to do it. I'm not putting any glue on the end of my straw. There is glue on this end, however. So I put glue on this end that's tucked in. Maybe tilt it a little bit. It doesn't have to be exactly straight. I like that it's hanging off. I like it. Okay, so for this little cherry, I'm going to use a glue dot because I will get my hands messy if I try to put liquid glue on that. Just saying. I know me, I know how I am, so I know better. Sometimes, not always, but. Where are you at? I'm just going to use a little glue dot. And you could use glue dots on these as well. There we go. Cute. I love it. Okay, have you guys decided? What do you think? So here's our card. Let's pull this down so that we can look at it. Now I have not folded these and scored them really, or not scored them, burnished them very well with my bone folder, but I will. I like them to lay flat. So I can use a glue dot out here if I need to tack that down, and I probably will once I decide other things. So some things I leave for the end. So what do you think? We're gonna grab one of these pieces because we already know our Celebrate fits on it. So there's card number 2. What do you think about the colors? Do you want to pull in Sweet Sorbet as your color? And I don't think, oh, I do have Sweet Sorbet. Let's go ahead and stamp it. I don't know if I would use Mint Macaron, but you could. It is an option. It's a color you used. And I also used Blushing Bride in this one. Thank you, thank you. I just think this set's so cute. I did see, I don't know if you guys saw it, Jay is on the artisan design team now, and I love, 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 love his cards. He does amazing things. But he has a card for inspiration, and he used the little, there's an ice cream cone die cut. There's not a stamp, it's a die cut that embosses, and then you fold it to make an ice cream cone. And he used it as little like cones, like a decoration that might stick down in the top of your milkshake. absolutely cute. So you could add that in too if you want more layers. Okay, let's see. There is Sweet Sorbet. Let me clean this because Sweet Sorbet is going to stain your stamp. Don't worry if it does. It's not harming it. It just helps you find it when you drop it on the floor. I promise. So I just have my chamois here. I'm using that to clean off. So see, the gray and the blue didn't stain my stamp, but that Sweet Sorbet did. And it's okay. It won't hurt anything. Okay, so what other color should we try? Do you want to try Blushing Bride? I do, and I can stamp another one. What do you guys think? I don't see any colors. Just stamp all of them. We do have more things. I'm gonna stamp this one Valentine's though, remember? So let's just stamp them all the way down the page until we figure it out. And I do this too. If I have extras, I have a little recycled paper pumpkin box that I throw my stuff in. You could also use, we have the stamp cases. You can buy a set of 4 of the clear stamp cases. You can use that. Okay, so I do like to use those for organization. Sorry if my head got in there. I was trying to see. Make sure I stamped it straight. So there's 3 colors we're going to cut apart. Then I still have this one over here. And let's stamp one in Mint Macaron. So see, here's my colors. Don't you love those together? There's your Valentine color scheme. Sweet Sorbet, Blushing Bride, and Smoky Slate. So it depends on how you want your greeting to look. So I do typically choose the grays. That's my typical go-to. Or if I'm doing like a beachy thing, I usually pick Crumb Cake or Soft Suede. So here is the Mint Macaron. And I just re-inked my Mint Macaron. So my glasses were stamped last night, and I noticed that my Mint Macaron was getting a little dry, so I re-inked it. So this is a lot darker than my cup, because how your ink pads are. If they're juicy, they're going to stamp darker. If they're kind of getting dried out a little bit, they're going to stamp lighter. So that's something to think about too. That's why I like stamping them and playing. So what do you think? Let's cut these apart and try them out. Right? We don't know till we try it. I'm just going to try not to mess up my card as I'm cutting these. And I am going to trim the lengths. It's going to be really tight to the word. Oh my goodness. So don't worry about that. There's another gray. And you could use all 3. What if you said celebrate, celebrate, celebrate in 3 different colors? Would you do that? Would you pick it? Just curious. Because you could. Nobody says that you have to just use one greeting on the front. You could use all of them. Now these scraps I'm just throwing away. I'm just tossing them off here to the side. So you could say celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. And there's another celebrate. And there's our scrap. We're going to keep that to stamp some more greetings. What do you guys think? So you could do this. It's allowed. It's allowed. Now remember, we're going to trim it so it's really close to the C. The letter C. You could say celebrate, celebrate. You could stagger them. You could do them like right on top of each other so they're a little bit layered. You could do one up here and one down here. There's so many choices. Or you can do one like we're gonna do over here, but we haven't chose a color. We haven't decided because it was equal. It was equal. Let's do blue on this one because I'm gonna do gray on this one. So let's say that we decided on blue. So there's that. And let me go ahead and trim that off. Any thoughts? So here's our greeting. You can leave it, you don't have to trim it really tight if you don't want to. So what do you think? Anybody have any thoughts so we can, and this one's not trimmed, so I'm gonna just lay it up here as extra. This one's already trimmed. So I'm gonna leave that as is. I think it's pretty even. And then I have these. No thoughts? Okay. I'm just gonna leave them all there. And I'm gonna pop this over here and we're gonna go to the next one. And it's gonna be this one. So this is Balmy Blue. So I cut this to be 4 by 3. I think I'm gonna cut another one just to show you a different way. I just separated all those. Where did they go? Okay. In case you want a full panel. So you like the sorbet. Which one's the darker, Vicki? Which one? I mean on this one. So I'm going to cut this to 4 3/4, right? I want my little strip. Throw that up there in my things. And I'm going to cut this to, you can cut it to 3 or 3 1/4, but because I want them to just be even, I'm going to cut it at 3. So it's going to be a little skinnier. It's going to be a little skinnier this direction on your width. But if you don't want your panel to go above this, you'll need this size so that it goes taller. And then this can fit in the middle like that. Yeah, I think the mint macaron also looks, would go with this. I think any of the colors go. There's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer. They all work. So what do you think? Tall panel. And then of course I have 3 pieces on this. So this is really built up on this one. This is an overflowing milkshake. Okay. Do you like the taller panel? Do you like this? So it's going to be shorter. And remember, we already trimmed this. You could have your milkshake hanging off. So this is the same height. So it just has a little bit peeking out. And then of course, because we cut another sheet, we do have a strip. It's skinnier. It's only, what did I cut this as? An inch? Yeah, just over an inch, 1.25 inches. So we also have the strip like this. So there's so many things you can do with your sheet. Oops, overboard. Xana says the first one. This is probably my standard size, and then I figure out how to use the strips, and I do layouts like this. You can use all the bits of this paper. And see how that gray greeting now kind of grounds that bright, bright pink. It's still my focal color. It still pops, but the greeting isn't competing. I know, Linda, I always like them all. That's why sometimes it takes me a little time to finish my cards. So let's go ahead and do our panel, this little panel right here. I'm going to use my little blending brush and my smoky slate to show you a different way you can kind of ground your image. Thank you, Jan. I've given you lots of ideas. And honestly, you have paper in your stash that you got to use. So the new small blending brushes come in a pack of 3, just like the big ones, but they're so cute and so tiny. They can just help you do a little bit of color. So I'm going to designate this one for my gray, and I'm going to just pick up some of that smoky slate. I'm going to test it out over here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of color to the bottom of my panel. Now this gives a really, really soft look versus the blends because it's a different medium. So it depends on how you want it to look. And I'm just adding a little color down here. I think I need it a little darker. Do a little darker right here in the middle. You guys can see what I'm doing, right? Thank you, Jan. I think there's just so many options. And I want you to see all of them. I want you to kind of think about how I feel like I want that darker. I just can't seem to, I don't want it to go too dark. And I don't want a big blob there. But it just gives a nice, soft look. So can you see that? Hopefully you can see it. It's just a nice, soft look. So if all you have are blending brushes and ink pads, you can still add some color to the bottom of your panel. And then it'll probably show up a little bit more when you put this on. So obviously I could have just finished all of these cards instead of making a pile, but I just tend to make a pile first. I glue my panels because I don't want them falling apart and going everywhere. So I'm going to take one of these, and I want it to overflow down the side a little bit like this. That's how I'm going to glue it. Or a lot. I guess I put it down pretty far. That's okay. Oh, sorry. I'm almost out of the screen. Sorry about that. So I'm just adhering the ones that don't have the straw. And I want this to overlap. And if you don't like this white from the die cut, use, now this is Melon Mambo and Balmy Blue. We do have a Melon Mambo blend. You could easily use your dark blend and make that like it's a shadow. So you can do that. I'm going to put this straw kind of straight up. So I'm going to adhere this down. right on top. And it's okay. It goes clear to the top of my panel. That's all right. And then we've got Celebrate. And it's okay if it overlaps this. So here's our card. What do you think? I love it. I'm going to say thank you to Rose for suggesting this Melamambo. Isn't that gorgeous? Now see, now you can really, really see that gray that we sponged on now that that layer's put together. So you might want to stop before you overblend or add too dark and just check it. Thank you so much for all that love. I appreciate it. Thank you, Joan. Ooh, yes, Xana, great idea. You can emboss a little strip to add onto here with the wood grain. What is that called? Is it Timber? I think Timber's the current one. And you could sponge it, or you can use a gray blend over top of that embossed layer to give it a little look. I do like using the blend because I feel like I can push out the color if I get it too dark. So that's my preferred method. So I love this card. This might be my favorite one. What do you think? So I'm going to put this on dimensionals just like the other one. Now this one, I haven't cut this yet. I'm doing 2 straws. This is the one I did the technique on. Actually, did I have? Yeah, the technique was on the first one too with the blue ice cream. So we're gonna do this one like a Valentine's card. So I have 2 straws tucked in there because you're gonna share with your sweetie. Now, here's our note card. Oops. It's dumped. That's all right. So, we can use this strip. We can use either one of these strips if you like the skinnier one. I don't know if I like the red with it. I might like the red with that one versus the blue. So I'm thinking one of these strips. So let me cut this down. I'm going to cut it to, I'm just going to use the 4 inches that we've used on all the other cards. It's just an easy measurement. We still have our scrap that we can stamp our greeting on. So let's, I have an idea. I'm going to try Xana's idea. Ooh, Vicky said anniversary. Yes, that's a great idea. Okay, are you guys ready? I'm gonna use this and my cut and emboss machine's over here, so I'm not gonna bring it into the camera, but I'm gonna use this. It is called the Timber 3D embossing. And I'm just going to emboss just the bottom. So here, I'm going to tell you what I'm doing, even though I have too much stuff here. I'm just going to take this like this. Okay, I'm going to leave it hanging out of my folder. And I'm just going to emboss this little bit right there. Y'all ready? We're going to add some texture. Now, this is a little more advanced than just a simple card. So, in your machine, you're going to have plate 1, that's your base. You're going to have your embossing folder with the paper sticking out. And then you're going to have plate 4, and we're going to run it through. Now, you could do a strip too, and just glue it on. I just did the bottom. See that? Can you guys see it? Now, let's try our blend and see how it comes out. I love playing and trying ideas. So, So I'm just going to drag this across my paper. I want some of that white to stay. So I'm using the kind of the side of my marker. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Now, if it's too dark, I'm going to take the brush tip of my color lifter and I'm just going to kind of go over it a little bit. And see what it does. I don't know that I've tried this. This might be a new technique. Awesome. Thank you, Xana, for the idea. I love it. Okay, so let's build our layer here. Now remember, this is textured, so you want to make sure you're using liquid glue or a strong adhesive. A glue dot should stick, and I missed a little bit, but that's okay. And it doesn't have to go straight to the top. It can come down a little bit, straight to the top of where it's embossed. And then we've got this, our little panel. And you notice I used a darker one and then a lighter one on top. I'm gonna show this technique at the end, so stick around if you want to see the kissing technique. Oh, I love it. Okay, so now we have to decide which strip. This could be trimmed. Now, if you want it to go straight to the top and straight to the bottom, you cut it 5 inches. Okay, something to think about. Here's your panel. Or if you like your white note card to show, this is cut at 4.5. Again, same layout, just a little bit different depending on what height you want. Now, I'm going to take this little piece here, and we're going to stamp something different on this one. I just realized I have enough to make 6 cards, but I only grabbed out 5. Okay, I'm going to stamp Be My Valentine. So this is the same width as that Celebrate. I'm just going to stick it on this end here. So Be My Valentine, and we're going to stick that, and you can cut around it. You can leave it a rectangle or however you like. I need my foam mat here. Okay, what do we think about our greeting? What do you think? Smoky slate? I know, I always like both too. That's probably why it takes me so long to get my cards done, Santa. Okay, I'm going to try it in Smoky Slate. Okay, and we'll trim it. Let's grab this piece. What other color do you want to try? So there's Smoky Slate. This one's going to be our Valentine card. Any thoughts? That's why we're here today. This is our creative process to learn, explore, and sometimes be adventurous because it's out of our comfort zone. So what other color would you use? Would you pick the mint macaron? Would you pick, now I have Blushing Bride. Joan suggests Melamambo. You could definitely do that. We don't have that color on there, but I don't know how it would look. We can try it. You can certainly do that. So these are the colors that we used on this card. Now that's with the paper. The straw is the Blushing Bride. So this would be Melon Mambo, just for a reference. If you want to see that color with those colors. It's not wrong. I will tell you that. You can definitely use all of them. And it's a beautiful bold color. And you may want to pull that in because Melamambo and Blushing Bride do look good together. So that's definitely an option if you want your greeting to be bold. So Xana votes for Blushing Bride. Let's stamp one of those. I feel like I want to stamp the Melamambo now that Joan said that, because I want to see what it looks like, because I like that idea. Oh, flip it over. If you drop your stamp, just flip it over. I'm going to stamp that. Now I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to try Melamambo. Who's feeling adventurous today? Anybody? Let's just see what it looks like. It's just paper. Okay, let me trim them all up. Make sure you close your ink pads. I don't know how many times I do this. See that little space? That's not closed, which means your ink pads can dry out. So don't be like me. Close your ink pads. Now, Melamambo is going to stain your stamp. Remember, we used it on that, no, what did we used Sweet Sorbet on the Celebrate. So I like to use my chamois. It helps pull some of that off. But it's okay. Now when I drop it, and I will, I can find it. Now I do want to say, these do, I think this is Melamambo. So we could use some Melamambo embellishments on our card. Okay, let me trim these. Stamping off with Melamambo. Okay, let me trim these really quick. Now, if you wanted, you could take your scissors and cut around this. I'm just leaving them as is, and I'll probably trim it down again to be right up against those end letters. So there's our 3 color choices. What do you think? Now, I didn't use the mint macaron. So I have, let's toss this out of the way for a second. Ooh, Joan's voting Melamambo with bling. So what do you guys think? I know that it can look different on, now this isn't adhered down yet, so I know that it can look different with our screens, but I actually like it. Now I flipped this over, so I'm going to take my bone folder. I'm going to show you how I'm going to smooth this edge down, but I actually kind of like that bold color. Now, if I wanted to bring in more Melamambo, I could stamp a cherry and cut it out and stick it on top in Melamambo, and then you've introduced a 4th color, but that's okay. I kind of like it. Nice idea, Joan. I like it. It's okay to have that bold color in there. So here's Blushing Bride. I probably wouldn't pick Blushing Bride because I feel like it blends in too much. It just blends in for me. And then here's our neutral. Here's our neutral. And don't worry about that wonky sundae. We're going to fix it. So, ooh, you know what else we have? We have little hearts. This has a little heart stamp. So instead of a cherry, I could put a little heart up here in Melamambo and bring in that color to our color scheme. A lot of people like the melon mambo. I did see your idea, Vicky, on the mint macaron. Oh, Jenny, do you mean mint macaron or melon mambo? Because MM and MM, they mean the same thing in our abbreviations. I know, I agree, Xana. It seemed too oh, okay, you guys did mean melon. Okay. I totally read that as mint macaron. So when you put MM. Yeah, I think this looks it just blends in too much because my cup's pink and it's just a lighter color. So we'll save that. That can go on another card. This can go on another card. So you guys want to cut around? That's what you're saying, is to cut around the letters. I've already cut this really straight, which is okay. You can also, well, this is really tight, but you could cut it apart and say, be my Valentine down here. Take a little bit of fussy, but so instead of a cherry, because we want this to be a Valentine's card, you could also just stamp a cherry. So this has a cherry stamp with a die cut, or you could just stamp it. The melon or the mint macaron is light enough that it would show through, but we could just stamp some hearts behind it like this and then adhere this on, and it might cover up the hearts a little bit. That's okay. Joan votes for hearts. I love it. We just totally revamped this card together and I love it. So let's vote. Fussy cut. You guys want to see what that looks like? If we hate it, I can stamp a new one. No big deal. No big deal. Unless you're tired of me today. You're saying, Beth, I gotta go. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure I can round the edge. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try. I don't always love how I fussy cut around letters. I'm not a fan. I like the look. I love it. But I just don't know that I do it perfect. And I got really close to my V. That's all right. So that would be my fussy cut. And be careful. I like to give this warning because Melon Mambo is a very, very bright but dark. It's a saturated color. Sometimes it takes longer to dry, like Cherry Cobbler, the Reds, and Blackberry Bliss. Never fails. I touch it too soon and I smear my stamping. It just takes a few seconds longer than some of our lighter colors. So just be conscious of that. Okay, I'm going to stamp some hearts. Let's do it. Let's do it. And remember, we did use Melon Mambo on a different card. So if you're making a set, this still matches. Okay, let me grab, I'm going to use a smaller block if I can get it out of my bucket here. Oh my goodness. All my blocks are buried. So I'm using the smallest block because I don't want to rock this. So here, man, we added texture and an extra color. We really revamped this card and I love it. Thank you all. So I'm just going to tuck these up here, right? And one of the reasons is I have 2 straws on this side, right? So I'm using it over here to kind of balance it out. We want to keep our card balanced. Voila. And yes, it stained it. It's okay. Remember, that is okay. And I'm going to put that one away because that looks like something I would drop on the floor and lose. Now, who has this set? Because I do have a question that I'm not 100% sure of. and I'm trying to decide. See this little stamp right here? Is it leaves for the cherry? Is that what that is? Anyone else? So just throwing that one out there for you to give you something to think about. I love this set. I love this set. So glad my son wanted it. Y'all can laugh, but I wasn't going to get it. I had talked myself out of it. I was drawn to it immediately. I love, 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 love ice cream sets, and I have to talk myself out of it sometimes. And then my son said, "Oh, I'd like that." So of course, I got it. So that was my thought. But it's so near the spoon in like the pictures that it kind of confused me, because you see on the cover, this goes with this. These two layer. Here's the top. These two layer. These two layer. And then this is clear up here. The cherry's clear down here. So I just, was just curious if you thought it was the same thing I did. Sometimes you get the sets and you think, what is that stamp supposed to be? It's okay to ask. Okay, so I've got my 2 straws like this. Aren't they adorable? I love it. Love, love, love. Using some liquid glue on them because I want them to stay put. Let me look. I don't think it does. It doesn't. See, the cherry has a die cut, but that little leaf thing, which is what I thought it was, doesn't. So there's the dies. This is that big ice cream cone that embosses and cuts and it folds, and it has this too. So if you wanted to do a lot of layered cards, I love this. And it has these hearts. This is like a chocolate thing that goes on top of your ice cream. If you want to add like that little chocolate drizzle layer. So it has a lot of standalone die cuts, but no, there's no die cut for those. But if you're simple stamping these, you could stamp a cherry with leaves on it. So, okay. So we have this like this. And we've got Be My Valentine. And I like it to hang off for a reason. I like it to pop off this bottom white piece a little bit. I don't know if my husband would appreciate a pink and green theme, but I think it's cute. And I do have some of those gorgeous opaque adhesive gems, and I believe this is Mellow Mambo. I think it's Gorgeous Grape, Mellow Mambo. I'm going to say Fresh Freesia and white. And of course, it doesn't say on the packaging, but I'm thinking that's what it said in the catalog. So this, we can use those, spread around to bling it up. So there's that. We're not going to glue it completely yet. We're going to throw this over here. Now, these two, I'm going to cut these as a square, okay? Now remember, this is actually Smoky Slate stamped off twice to create kind of a white icing, but I wanted a shadow. So, and I did a darker spoon and a lighter spoon. I'm not sure which one I love, but I liked them both. So we have 2 little sundaes. I'm going to get out another card. We're just going to do those real quick because we can do them together. I want this to be a square, and we're going to use these 2 squares right here. So remember I cut those squares. So when you're doing your one sheet wonders, this is a 3x3. You can cut it diagonally and have 2 triangles, or you can leave it as a square. So let me pull this in. So I'm thinking a square with a little square. Okay, so we're going to cut this I think it's about 2 by 2. And then we're going to stack our sundae on top of it. We can stamp our greeting down here right onto our card front. We don't have to have a layer for our greeting. Or if you love layers, layer it up. So what do you think? Do you like the square? I want to say it's about 2. So we're just, it might not be exact. Some of my paper, when it comes in, is not exactly 8.5 by 11. So that might be, because this was a leftover piece. So here's what this would look like. Let me try to grab my sundae pieces here. And this definitely reminds me of a birthday card. So I used Balmy Blue, Blushing Bride, and Smoky Slate, and my little cherry is Sweet Sorbet. So if you cut your paper into 3 by 3, you get 4 cards, essentially. So we want to make sure we're using our paper. And I like to use where I don't have a bunch of little cuts. There's some more extra. Because I want to use all my paper. I don't want to throw it in the garbage. I don't want to throw it in the trash. So what do you guys think? Do you want to try the triangle and cut it? And you can separate and then put this in the middle. You can put them on the corners and actually have 2 different cards. What do you think? Or do you want to do 2 that are like this? And the only difference is this has a white icing. So we could just put it right onto the pattern. Or we could use dimensionals and make it pop up a little bit. That's why I stamped it in the Smoky Slate, is I didn't want it to just be a white die cut. I wanted it to have some texture to it. So here's our white square. It still shows up. And you can do the gray on the bottom too to ground it. Or you can leave it as is. How about we leave some that are as is so you can see the difference. So it's okay if you don't put gray on the bottom. So here's what this one looks like. And the cherry kind of helps separate it too. I know there's so many to choose from, but I want you to know you have choices. You have choices. So I like using the squares when I'm using smaller images that I just want to focus on. So we can do a square. That's not a big deal. I just want you to know there's options. There's things you can do. Grab another one of these out. And I'm going to show you some other things with your paper. So let's see. I need to go to 3.5. I'm just going to score this extra one because I only got out 5. I forgot I had 6 shakes and ice cream. So we can do these exactly the same. We just have a different colored top. Now, if you don't like the white, which I'm calling it white, it's actually 3rd generation Smoky Slate. So in person, it would definitely show up. But if it's not enough for you, you could scribble some color with your blend so it pops. We can do that. We can scribble some blue back there. You can use a darker piece, or you can switch it out for one of these. So what do you think? I just wanted to show you that's how I did the vanilla. Thank you, Jen. That's what we would call it. We wouldn't call it white ice cream, would we? We would call it vanilla. So I do have a darker one. It's a little bit darker that we could use. And we can switch the spoons too. Like if the darker spoon would help separate it a little bit here, we could use the lighter spoon here and the darker spoon here. So when this die cuts, it creates a little cut in here, and you have a spoon and a straw. And of course, I think the cherry helps add to it. And we could stack it up. So we could we could put this darker one, or you can do two different colors. I'm not sure which colors Joan means, but you could do one like this, and you could do a pink, and then stick the spoon in. You could do the mint macaron, you could do blue. This would be really close to monochromatic. Like that. Maybe this one's a double-decker sundae. We'll just lay that there while we're deciding. What do you think? Tell me your thoughts. Now, our greeting, we can stamp right on to here, or we have lots of strips already stamped here. You can have a strip and layer it. Depends on how you want it to look. If you want a layered card, or if you want it to be a little more simpler. They're all fine. They all work. Pink and white Joan votes. What do you guys think? You like it? Double-decker sundae? I know today has been really long. We're already past 11. It's a good thing Bob is not here to time me. I like spending time with you. So if you are enjoying this morning, thank you so much for hanging out. I don't normally try to do a really long live, but I want to give you lots of ideas to use your paper. So even though this is a new paper and I love it, and if you did my paper share, you have some of it. You can use it for cards like this. I want you to think about stuff you might already have. And we do have several packs of paper that have different plaids. Our Color Family Designer Series paper packs also have a little bit different of a plaid. I would call it plaid, not gingham. But you can use those with this as well. So if you've purchased a set or you have an old ice cream set, you can use all of these ideas. Thank goodness, because Bob would probably really be complaining about me. He's going to hear you rewatch this later, and he's going to say, oh, man, they're talking about me when I'm not even there. So let's do this one a double-decker, and you can see the ideas are similar, different. If you wanted a bigger piece, you could pull in this 4x3 and use the rectangle instead of the square. You could cut your squares at 2x2 and just do a different layout. There's so many layouts. So many layouts. So that would be a lot of the pattern. Depends on how much pattern you want to use. So those, we have so many choices. Now, let me see. Do I have one of these that I cut to 2x2? I think this might be 2. But if you wanted to cut this in half and have a rectangle, a square, and a rectangle, and do a design like it's diagonal and it has a pattern here, your stamped panel or your layers, and then a pattern here. It's kind of like, if you do squares, it's kind of like a diamond pattern in a row. I love using that pattern with my paper, especially because a lot of times they end up with a 2-inch piece. And how do I use it up? Well, I create 2x2 squares and I put them in a little pattern, a set of 3. So there's lots of things we can do. You could also just use a little bit. You could just use this whole sheet and do this type of pattern with just a little bit and stamp down here. It's perfectly okay. We're using up our paper. So there's lots of layouts, lots of different ways we can use up our paper. And that's what a one-sheet wonder is. It's chopping up your sheet and using every single piece. Sometimes you have a little tiny bit that you're throwing away. But the idea is to use it all. So what do you think? Do you like it? Do you want to do 2 at the square? Or do you want to do something different? And we're going to stamp, I'm going to stamp directly on this. So let's glue this one first because I want to stamp down here. And guess what I'm going to bring in? My Stamparatus. Because I don't want to stamp it crooked. I'm stamping onto my card base here. So I'm going to pull this away for a second and I'm going to glue all of these pieces. You can use glue dots if you want. Remember, I'm going to use a glue dot for that cherry. And I'm not going to put gray on the bottom here. I'm just going to leave it as is. Maybe I don't have the blending brush and I don't have blends. So I'm just going to leave it as is and create, oops, I want it up a little bit further. Create my dish of ice cream here. I'm going to tuck that spoon. Just let it hang out a little bit so you know what it is. Now there is another stamp. There's this one that stamps that is straight on the edge. If you don't want it overflowing, I kind of liked the messy ice cream. If you don't want it overflowing like we have for our milkshakes, you can do this stamp. And it does have a die cut or that goes with it. There's that. Let me grab my... Using a glue dot here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this. Thank you, Joan. And I do like to use my bone folder and get a nice crisp edge. Like I said, these are thicker. They're the thicker basic white. So I like to give a nice burnished crease on this because they don't just stay flat. So something I do after I make my cards, I put a clean block on them and hold them down so that they will flatten a little bit and stay closed a little bit better. But while we're gluing, that's not going to happen. So I'm going to glue this piece on. And be careful, designer series paper is not as thick as our cardstock, so you want to use less glue. I'm going to put it about the middle, but I'm leaving it a little bit higher so that I have more space at the bottom to stamp my greeting. Hopefully I glued it straight because I pressed it down. That's okay. So let me grab my Stamparatus here. Just going to grab one plate. You can see, look at all the stamping for my, I did my son's Valentine's. I'm going to put this in here, and I want to show you a little trick. I was having some trouble with my words, my photopolymer words, so I stuck my silicone mat in there to give a little bit of lift in this corner. So you can do that. So then I have my foam mat, because we're using a photopolymer stamp set. I'm just going to stick this right in the corner and use my magnet. And I would need to move some things out of the way here. I just don't have any room. I got a bunch of stuff next to me. So what color do we want to stamp with? We've used Sweet Sorbet. Here's our little guy that's going to go right, or our treat. So we've used Blushing Bride, Smoky Slate Stamped Off, Sweet Sorbet, and Balmy Blue. What do you think? Should we go bold with Sweet Sorbet? So, just for reference, way back here in this pile, we stamped with Sweet Sorbet. And you could stamp life is a little sweeter with you if you wanted. We could stamp something a little bit different since we're not layering our greeting. So this is life is a little sweeter with you. See, it really fills up that space. But here's, just for reference, that sweet sorbet color. Vicki, I haven't even finished. I am on my second cup, but it's sitting here getting cold because I haven't taken enough coffee breaks. I'm just chatting away. So I agree, Joan. We could go really bold and use sweet sorbet. I think that would be a great color. Do y'all agree? Thank you, Jan. I love it. So I'm going to grab that color. And remember, it's going to stain our stamp. So this isn't adhered down yet, but that's why I adhered this before I stuck this in here. So I could make sure that I have enough room. Move all these inks out of the way. Now I'm going to pick it up. I think it's straight. It's straight enough. It's kind of like a handwriting. That's what it reminds me of. So I'm not going to worry about if it's perfect. I love sweet sorbet. I really need to start using certain colors more. I love them, and I just don't show them enough love. So I'm just inking this up really well. Now, I haven't stamped with this yet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in this really yucky, I've stamped all over it. I've done all kinds of things on this piece. I'm just going to stamp this real quick. Sometimes our photopolymer has a little film on it from production. And this is a way that you can kind of clean them off, if you will. So I've stamped it. It stamps really well. So it didn't seem to have a lot of that excess stuff. Sometimes your solid stamps like these, they need a little more help. So you want to, I don't even know where my sheet went. It has all kinds of stamping all over it where I inked it and stamped it and inked it and stamped it to make sure that I was going to get a good image. So I'm just inking this up again. And you see, I've got it everywhere. I've got it on my hinge. I've got it on my plate. That's all right. That's all right. It's not going to hurt anything. So I'm just going to hold this down, put a little bit of pressure. I don't want to squeeze too hard. And this is why. These photopolymer stamps, they spread. They will spread. And if it has a real fine line letters, it will squish. And you don't want it to squish. Unless you meant to have that look. And then it will look like your letters are a little fatter. And if they're close together, they might run together. So you just want to be careful not to squish. So there we go. Now see how it's stained? It's all right. I'm going to use my, I will use my chamois on it. I'm just dabbing the ink. I'm just pressing this onto it. So it's still stained, but not so bad. And I have one that I cut in half so I can pick it up. So that's why it looks smaller. So I'm going to just throw this over here for a second. We're going to finish this off. I'm going to put this on dimensionals. So we're finally putting our cards together. I did that all wonky, didn't I? What are you doing, Beth? It'll work, I think. Nope, I don't like it. Just put extra on there. Don't mind me. I usually put each corner and one in the middle, but I got all wonky on myself. It's all right. It could be lack of coffee, as Vicki suggested. I'm going to try to get it as even as I can. It's okay if it's not perfect. Now, if we want to add some embellishments, let's bling this one up. And I'm going to show you how you can change these white gems. These gorgeous white gems. Ooh. Okay, come out of the plastic. I accidentally pulled one of my Mellomombos off. So we have these white ones, and we have 3 sizes here. So let's use some of these tiny ones, and we're just going to sprinkle. Now, we do have, I'm going to use my Stampin' Blends to change the colors for these. You need to use Stampin' Blends because they have, because they're alcohol markers, they're going to dry and it's going to adhere to this surface. So I have Balmy Blue. I also have Mint Macaron, or not Mint Macaron. I do have Mint Macaron laying here, but I meant to say Sweet Sorbet. So Sweet Sorbet also has a blend. Or you could just use white. You can use white, that's okay. I'm going to try to get it onto this paper. I like to do it near where I put dimensionals because then it protects your embellishment when you put your card in the envelope. You can also put a little piece of cardstock or like the cardboard out of my Designer Series paper packs. I like to cut it up to slide in there to protect anything that might be sticking up. But just know, if it goes over a certain weight, it may add to the postage. Joan votes blue. We can certainly do blue. And we can even put them, I like to put them along the edge of the paper, like we could do. I like to do either 3 blue dots, or I like to scatter them too. I like to do lots of things. So what do you think? Joan votes blue. Anyone else have any votes? Now, we do not have a Blushing Bride blend, but we do have the Natural Tones 1000, and it looks like Blushing Bride. So we could also throw that in there too. Linda votes Sweet Sorbet. What do you guys think? Ooh, you know what? Yeah, here it is. So we got Sweet Sorbet. We've got blue, or we can leave them white. These are probably the hardest decisions, I think. While we're waiting, I'm going to glue this. I'm going to go ahead and glue this together. I feel like I need to get on it. We've been doing this it's been a long live this morning. Thank you for all of you who stuck around. And if you weren't able to watch and you're watching the replay, thanks for watching. Sometimes we like to hang out for a while. Ooh, Xana says mixed. That's a good idea. Can do that too. Now I need to tuck my spoon before this one goes on. I agree, that is a fun idea. So what colors do we want to, what am I doing? I don't need the box. I need I need my glue dots. What colors do we want to mix? What do you guys think? Do you think we should do blue and Sweet Sorbet? So the rule for embellishments is typically I think I'm going to do this card like this just so that you can see the difference. What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought there. Sorry. The rule for embellishments, that's where I was going, is typically an odd number. So I typically choose 3. So what do you think? 2 blue and 1 Sweet Sorbet, because Sweet Sorbet is a bold color. So I'm going to color. I use this. Our blends have 2 ends, a brush tip and a bullet tip. I use the bullet tip, and you just want to, I'm using the smaller ones, and you just want to lightly color over these. Now these are textured, so they're not going to look the same as, say, a pearl. And you want to be gentle because it will tear up your tip if you're too rough. So these are going to come out really light because it's very textured. And you're going to let it dry. So let me do, and I just color over it. And I'm just taking my time. And it will dry, and you can add more color to it. So I'm going to do another blue one here. I'll color over this one again. So the ones that are less textured, the color is going to show up darker because it goes onto the surface that's smoother, easier than these textured ones. But I love these gems, so I wanted to use them. And honestly, I have a balmy blue that was running out, and I stood it up to get all of the ink, the dye that was left in there at one tip. So I probably could have used that one because I wouldn't have cared if the tip was torn up, but I didn't think of that. So we're just using this one. So it's very light and subtle. As you can see, the red one's very bold. So there we go. And I use my take your pick tool. Hopefully I can find it because I'm not seeing it. This doesn't surprise me. I lost it yesterday too. No idea what I did with it. Well. It's hiding from me. Oh, there it is. There it is. Found it. Thank you, Joan. Thanks for hanging out with us so long. Appreciate it. I hope your son does well in his basketball, or your grandson does well in his basketball game. So let's just scatter these. And like I said, I typically like to do a little, oops. Let's put one down here. What do you think? I might have liked the blue. Actually, let me switch these. I'm gonna pick that one back up. I think I like that little pop of red up there. So you can spread them around wherever you want. Now, I'm going to quickly glue. I know we didn't stamp a greeting on this one. I'm going to quickly adhere the rest of them because we've been here a while. You guys are probably done hearing me talk. I know my kids are. They're like, Mom, come on. They just don't enjoy making cards like the rest of us. So, once you have your cards laid out, even if I don't get to all of them, because it's 11:30 already, you gotta be kidding me. We've been here a long time today. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. I've had a lot of fun. I will do that last 6th card that's not ready yet. I will do that off later, and I will make sure you guys have pictures. So I'm doing, all my panels are popped up, okay, like this. Now this one, I'm going to use a glue dot or a couple of glue dots on this end, and I'm going to put a dimensional on the other end. Now, if a big one won't fit, use a mini. That way, it is the same height as my layer. So there's that one. Let's do this one. And we're going to do the same thing with this. Okay, so there's that layer. This is going to have dimensionals. Okay, so this, I'm just doing this about the middle. There we go. And I'm going to do the same thing. This end is going to get a dimensional, and the middle can have either liquid glue or a glue dot. I think I'm just going to leave that the length that it is. You can use liquid glue. There we go. Now, these, we haven't picked a color. So I'm going to let you guys kind of decide one more time what you think you might want to do on this one, that we changed up the colors a little bit. So they all have a similar layout. And this gives us a really nice set of birthday cards ready to go. I'm going to just add a little dab of glue right there. Okay, so we can go with this sweet sorbet. I think I would probably pick that or the gray. I even like this one because it contrasts to this. And we can trim this a little bit. Let me trim that. I can't decide if I like the sweet sorbet or the blushing bride better. What do you guys think? Anybody have an idea? Anybody have an opinion? Just trim that a little bit. Or this is the one I said, you know, you could do too. You could do celebrate, celebrate. You could even do celebrate, celebrate. Like that, if you wanted. I think I might try 2. I just like it. It's a little bit different. Make sure I put this on the right end. I'm going to use a little bit of there we did a double. Cute. And then we're down to our last one, and I'll do that other one off screen because we've been here for a while. But you get the idea. I hope that you have been inspired and you have fun creating and using all your different supplies and use up your paper. And this one we use the Balmy Blue. Oops. Make sure I get it on the right end. There we go. Now I'm going to show you a fun thing real quick with the envelope, and I'm going to show you the kissing technique, and we are done. We are done. I was really ambitious with these cards today. Oops. There we go. So there's our cards. And then this one I will do in a minute. I want to have enough, I want to make sure I show you this technique. So the kissing technique. There's my stamp set. Ah, it fell over, I forgot. Okay, so you take a texture. I'm using this one from the Artistically Inked. Let me grab one of my scrap pieces out here. I'm going to put this on a block. Okay. It's just going to sit there and look pretty. Oops. I'm going to take my ice cream stamp and pick it up. And I'm going to do this with Sweet Sorbet just so you can see really well how this turned out. You need your foam mat, okay, because you're stamping with a photopolymer. So this is what the kissing technique is, and that's the technique I used on this, and I also used it on this Balmy Blue ice cream, okay? It's super simple. You pick whatever textures you like. You ink up your stamp. Okay, I'm going to ink it up really well with Sweet Sorbet. I'm going to come over here to this texture stamp, and I'm going to stamp onto it. Then I'm going to stamp on my paper. So see how that looks? So let me stamp one regular. Okay. So you just come over here, you stamp onto your texture, and then onto your paper. So see how that, see this, the other side did a different texture. This is just it stamping solid. And then this was the first one I did. So really simple. That's the kissing technique. Hopefully Joan comes back and sees the end because I know she hadn't done that before. So there we go. That's the technique. This is the amazing Share a Milkshake. This comes as a bundle. Make sure you order it as a bundle if you have the cut and emboss machine so that you can get that as a 10% discount when you buy it as a bundle. And the dies are really cute. So if you have the ability to die cut, it's a cute set. I'll finish that one later. Don't lay it on the red ink. Put this off to the side. And here's a sneak peek at Joe's Valentine's he designed for his class. So there you go. And I have a bunch of samples. I'm going to be putting samples up. I'm going to talk about color combos and some posts. So be looking for that. Thank you all for joining me today and hanging out for a really, really long class. We had a lot of fun creating today. So thanks for hanging out. And I hope you guys have a lovely weekend. And this has helped you get those creative juices flowing. So thank you all. And don't forget to give me lots of love on my video and share with your friends and invite them to watch along with us next weekend. Thank you, Linda. Yes, Joe likes to design his too. So, all right, guys, take care. I'll see you soon. Bye.